Praise be to the Emperor. Praise the Emperor. All hail him on earth. Guys, today we will be looking at the Warhammer 40,000 8th edition faction focus Astra Militarum post put out by Games Workshop. All I can say is that this is looking like some much needed love for the Imperial Guard. It is looking like really, really good news for the Guard. Now obviously bear in mind, guys, that these faction focus videos have a specific purpose. They are there to sell models. Games Workshop wants us to get excited for the new edition. They want us to go out and buy models in preparation for 8th edition, and they want to get us hyped for 8th edition. They want us to be hyped for the Imperial Guard. And all I can say is, boy, is it working. I went and bought a fucking Chimera thanks to this video. I already own 6, but I decided, fuck it. This is looking like it's going to be good shit. So I went and bought another Chimera. You know, call me stupid, but I am hyped for the Imperial Guard. And I have to say, you will be hyped as well if you haven't already seen this. Although I expect, because I've been away for the last few days, I expect that most of you will already have gone through this with a fine-tooth comb. But now it's my turn to get really fucking excited about this. So, I'm not going to go through word for word what the article says, but I'm just going to say, number 1, Games Workshop actively acknowledges that the Imperial Guard are a struggling faction at the moment. They actively acknowledge that there are many units in the Guard Codex which just don't see the light of day because they're just not that powerful. For example, Grins and Rough Riders. They even specifically acknowledge the problem with heavy weapon squads, rather than saying that they currently just act as distractions. So, that is really, really good news. The fact that they have acknowledged that there are issues with the Guard army. Unlike the Eldar faction focus that we saw, where they said there are loads and loads of powerful units that see the table time and time again. They have acknowledged the fact that with the Guard, there are loads and loads of issues with our codex at the moment. Well, not our codex is fine, but with our army, it's weak. So, that's good. That means that they've acknowledged that, and they're going to bring Guardsmen up a level. Fantastic. They've said that 8th edition is going to be the most balanced edition that they can possibly do. They've actually fucking play tested the rules for the first time in a huge, huge long while. So, that's amazing. But let's go on and have a look at some of the things that they say. So number 1, they say Scout Sentinels are going to be great. Well, number 1, I just like to say I already think Scout Sentinels are fantastic. I have a trio of Scout Sentinels and I use them with Heavy Flamer. They are actively the bane of my local gaming group, and I have taken them to tournaments as well and done really, really well with them. I also use my Scout Sentinels in my Emperor Shield Infantry company, because you've got to love the fact that you can just outflank a bunch of 3 separate Sentinels, and that's a guaranteed line breaker. So Scout Sentinels are really, I think they're really good at the moment. If they're going to get an even bigger buff, then holy shit, guys, go out there and buy lots of Scout Sentinels. Okay, I'm joking, wait until the edition actually drops. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if a unit which I think is already pretty good is going to get even better, then fucking yeah, boys. Next thing, they say, Bull Grins, Rough Riders were actually scary in combat. Yes, I have 6 Bull Grins. I've painted like 2 of them. I never used them outside of 2 or 3 battles because they're over-costed, and while they hit like a ton of bricks with those power mauls, they struggle against any dedicated close combat unit. So Bullgrins and Ogrins getting a buff, yes please. Please, please, please. I want my Bullgrins and Ogrins to have a fucking amazing time of it. They mention Rough Riders. Okay, guys. I'm going to try and bring the hype levels up to 11 now. But the fact that they even mentioned Rough Riders to me implies that we could be getting new Rough Rider models. Even if we don't, we're going to get some absolutely, apparently, balls to the walls, incredibly scary in close combat Rough Riders. They're not just going to be guardsmen on horses anymore. That would be fantastic. I'm hoping that Games Workshop has seen the love and affection that Guard players currently have for the Death Corps of Krieg Death Riders. And I'm hoping that we're going to be getting something similar. I really hope that we get some fucking plastic Death Riders, basically, because that would be absolutely awesome. Because I can tell you right now, I have a pure Knight Bretonnian army that I use in Fantasy. I can use those as Rough Riders if I want to, but I would be so much happier if I just got to feel some proper 40k looking Rough Riders. That would just, that'd get my dick so hard. I'd be so ready for that. I would field right now like 60 Rough Riders, and I would fucking cavalry charge the shit out of someone. I would do it. But anyway, like I said, keep your fingers crossed, guys. We could be getting new Rough Rider kits. Of all the units they could have mentioned, and you know, in this reveal, they've mentioned Rough Riders. That's great. You know, it just means that they're not getting, at the very least, they're not getting dropped. Okay, if a lot of people were worried that Rough Riders were going to get dropped, well, they're not going to get dropped. Okay, at the very least, you've still got them, and they're going to be good in the new edition. Potentially new plastic kits. That's just my hope. It's just my hope. I've got no official word on that. That's just me inferring. Okay, so heavy weapon squads that actually provide covering fire and not just distractions. What does this mean? It could potentially mean that heavy weapon squads will get a special rule called covering fire. You know, that implies to me a special rule. They've also acknowledged the fact that currently heavy weapons teams are really fragile and just not really worth it. So that's, you know, awesome. They've acknowledged the fact that heavy weapons could do with a boost. Great. What you've got to remember, guys, is there's no such thing as instant death anymore. So heavy weapons have already, just by the changing of the basic core rules, got a buff. Now your enemy will have to do 2 wounds to every heavy weapons team member. They'll have to do it to get rid of them. They can no longer instant death them. So they also go on to talk about veterans being good. Well, you know, veterans, you know, we already know veterans are good. They say your squads will no longer pop out of chimeras, shoot one thing, then die, or they'll run away, which is good. That to me implies that they want to bring mech guard back. They specifically mention chimeras and men popping out of chimeras as being good. Okay, I'm ready for the chimera spam. Moving on, they say nearby commissars will limit the losses of bad morale tests. Awesome. However, unless commissars, I think I mentioned this in my morale video, commissars will, to be even remotely effective, will need to have a summary execution rule where they blow the brains out of a guardsman and you ignore battle shock. They'll have to have that rule. If it's just a reroll, commissars will be useless, but they don't confirm anything specifically in there. I'm really hoping that commissars will just blow a guy's brains out, pass the test, but we shall still see. But they have sort of acknowledged the fact that guard are going to need some way of staying in the fight. Alright. Rattlings, sniper weapons, are able to pick out characters. That's a big, big deal, guys. As we know, characters can't be targeted unless they are the nearest enemy model. You are now going to need those sniper rifles. You are now going to need those rattlings. It means that sniper rifle special weapon squads will be good. It means rattlings will be good. And it means having snipers in your basic line infantry squads will no longer be a bad idea. So, fantastic. Finally, moving on. They talk about the vehicles. And they acknowledge, this is so good. They acknowledge that currently tracked vehicles in 7th edition are a joke. They acknowledge that. They say they get destroyed in one shot, or they throw a track going over a small bush. Tanks, they say tanks are back and better than ever. Lemurs, for example, have toughness 8, a 3+ save, and they have 12 wounds. For a standard mainline battle tank, that sounds pretty good to me. Toughness 8 is as tough as a Gorkanaut. 3 plus save, as good as a Gorkanaut. 12 wounds, holy moly, that's good. That means at the very least you now can't get one-shotted by a melter gun. It will take at least 2 melter guns to kill a Leman Russ. However, they do say that Leman Russes will be slowing down after they lose half of their 12 wounds. So Leman Russes, once they go down to 6 wounds, will start becoming pretty shit. They say that there's going to be so much good stuff coming out. They can't even include it all in the article, is what they say. But of course they say they don't want to reveal the whole hand. However, one last thing they say, which as a foot guard commander, and I bet this is what a lot of you guys have been waiting to hear me say, they give us a sneak preview of how the guard orders are going to work. Number 1, there are 7 guard orders to choose from. Okay, currently I believe there's 9 guard orders to choose from, and Militarum Tempestus, they have their own 6 orders. So technically we currently have 15 orders to choose from, but now we've gone down to 7. Okay, that's a bit of a blow, but they number 1, but I will acknowledge that these are just, if these are just Astra Militarum orders, I will acknowledge that Astra Militarum orders, there are a few useless ones in there currently, so trimming down to 7 is fine. They pass automatically. Oh, no more Vox casters will have to do something different now, but passing orders automatically is insane. It's just amazing. But the number 1 thing that I want to talk about is they say that first rank fire, second rank fire now gives all lasguns and hotshot lasguns rapid fire 2. That means 2 shots at 24-inch range, 4 shots at half range. That is insane. That means a blob of 30 conscripts at short range will now be putting out 120 shots. And you can wound anything with lasguns. I've always maintained the stance that if it can be hurt by a lasgun, then it can be easily killed by a lasgun. If foot guard has ways of mitigating battle shock, then lasguns will become absolutely deadly. I will be blobbing and first rank firing every single man in my army every single turn. I will bring down Wraith Knights with lasguns. I will bring down Riptides. I will bring down Primarchs with lasguns. I don't care. So, what more can be said? 4 shots per guardsman. That is the buff that the Imperial Guard lasgun has needed. I covered that in my lasgun video a while ago, how the lasgun is good, but it's starting to struggle. The more shots that we can pump out with lasguns, the better. So overall, I think this faction reveals is obviously hyping the shit out of the guard. That's good. But let's look at some 3 important tidbits. Number 1, they've acknowledged that guard are a struggling faction. That means they're going to want to buff us. Okay. Number 2, they have acknowledged specific units that are weak, such as Rough Riders and Grins. That means they will get buffed up. Potentially means new plastic Rough Riders. Number 3, the new orders are going to be absolutely insane. At the very least, we now know we're definitely going to keep orders. There was some worry that we weren't going to keep them, but we are now definitely going to keep them, and they're looking really fucking tasty. One thing that isn't mentioned in this article is we don't know if Militarum Tempestus are going to be kept as a separate faction or rolled into the Imperial Guard. We don't know that yet. That will be something interesting to keep an eye out for. But overall, guys, I'm feeling really fucking hyped for this. Really positive. I've got my fingers crossed, guys, but I think this could be a golden age for the Guard. I really, really hope so, because as I've always said, the Guard are the masters of CAD on CAD warfare, and that's what we have in 8th edition, and it's looking like we are going to be doing really, really well. So keep your fingers crossed, guys. As always, please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If I've missed anything good, anything bad, please let me know, and it'll really, really help me. Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.